Jan, I was intrigued by everything you said, but in particular when you were talking about the failure to wake up other countries. The Darfur situation is almost unique in how the United States and Americans, my son who's at college, the protests on his college campus are not about the war in Iraq. They were about the war in Vietnam when I was in college. They're about Darfur. Yep. There's an enormous amount of public attention to Darfur. And yet, these days, those people like yourself who believe in multilateral action and international organizations going into these situations tend increasingly to look upon regional organizations as one way to go more effectively, because countries often object to real outsiders like Europeans or like Americans moving in. And yet regional organizations tend to let us down when it comes to humanitarian concerns. I have in mind, for instance, ASEAN, which has had such little reaction to the atrocities committed against monks in saffron robes. I mean, what is a more greater symbol of peaceful demonstration than that in Asia? And yet Asians themselves, Southeast Asians themselves, have not done very much in that case, in the case of Burma. The African Union has done what it could do in the case of Darfur, but Zimbabwe, you mentioned, the principal defender of Zimbabwe right now is South Africa. The South African ambassador, and I don't mean to criticize him personally, but he happens to be somebody who was in exile living in Brooklyn in the days when the apartheid regime was being punished by United Nations sanctions. And in those days, he would give speeches all the time, go on radio programs here, criticizing the UN for not being tougher, and criticizing, in one case, the first President Bush for relaxing those sanctions at one point. And yet, he's the first one to stand up now and say, hands off Zimbabwe, you've got no business messing there. I'm sorry for this long question, but my question is, in the wake-up call, don't we need to wake up these regional organizations to their responsibility when it comes to humanitarian issues?
No, indeed. In a way, that's my whole point. We have to wake up. We have to push. And that's why, I mean, the college kids of the United States, the pension funds of the United States, the whole very lively debate about let's help Darfur, let's help other places, has to target, in my view, more strategically those who can really do it. And increasingly, it seems it's not Washington or London or Brussels. It's China or India or ASEAN or South Africa or Nigeria or Brazil or whoever. But then again, I mean, don't be too pessimistic, Warren. Again, I'm an optimist. The ASEAN had its first pronunciation ever in its history, on a human rights issue, which was Burma. I mean, they've gone from 0 to 1 on the Richter's scale. We want them to go to 9, but I mean, it's better with the 1 than to remain 0. We can build on that. On Zimbabwe, again, the point is, if UK and US could perhaps step down a little bit on Zimbabwe and try to push South Africa and SADC, it might help. Because now it's a little bit like, I often tell this story, about Fidel Castro, who came to South Africa at the G77 meeting. These are many years back. And of course, he was the most popular leader of all, next to Mandela. A long line of people, of other heads of state who wanted to be photographed with him and have his signature on their tie and so on. So a journalist, one of your colleagues, asked him, Mr. Castro, how can you be so popular after so many years? And he said, I owe it all to the United States. And of course, that is a little bit the story of Mugabe. He's the one really fighting, rich white farmers. The West, the rich, the top dog. We're giving him a deal here, which he shouldn't have. The regional organizations have to be empowered, have to be pushed. Is the solution, and we have to be more strategic. And in the United States, of course, I hope the focus on Darfur will continue. I would hope there will be more on Colombia and Gaza and the Congo as well.